Hey guys, this is Kirop speaking, and in today's little dev update I'm giving you a quick overview of what we are currently working on, but also some other information. And first off, let's start with that. We're currently, or we, as in most of the team, are currently on winter holiday, which means summer holiday for you Europeans, Americans and Asians. And that means most of us are actually out of office. I'm not one of them, but Caswell and Jay are in the UK, and Andrew and Isaac are in Japan. And yes, that means there's not much progress going to happen in the next 2 to 3 weeks, but I do have a few things to show to you. Stuff we've been working on since the bigger patch rolled into the public branch. And I'm currently on that version, and that is because I want to show you the difference before and after. And let's talk about that. We are currently working on a bit of a UI visual revamp. Of course, we continuously work on improving the UI experience in general. There's a lot that needs to be done there. But also, we think that, well, if you look at this UI, for instance, it is, it's not the prettiest, it's not the most effective UI I can envision. It hasn't aged well with all these borders, extra borders and so on. Maybe it has never been good, but it is certainly functional, don't get me wrong, it's functional. But one very important point, which I've learned over the past year or so, and you could say that, oh, isn't that completely obvious, Kirop? You're such a stupid MFer. Yes, I'm a stupid magic finder. And that is that if you have these small black borders around, you are creating a lot of noise in general. And the same goes for this one here. Yes, it does pop these fields quite nicely, but also when you're trying to present a lot of data on screen, that isn't always the thing you're after specifically. There are better ways of doing that, and in recent times I have found one of these ways of doing it. It's a lot simpler and cleaner UI look, and we're going to take a look at that once I'm switching version over, which we shall do in a moment. So just of course to go in there somewhere, let's just open one of the Merano cars. So in here, for instance, in the markets tab, these markets all, like, if you are competitive in a lot of markets, this gets really busy really quickly, and that has partially to do with the stronger borders, as I pointed out, like these outlines, not down here, but in here, and that is not the best thing to happen if you already are on a very busy page. So what we are trying to do is reduce the number of borders used and simplify the data fields. No rounded corners, but rather just straight up rectangles instead as a backdrop, and that allows us to use some better UI features as well. What I'm going to show you next is where we are currently, and that is by no means finished, and it needs to be polished up. The bad thing about it, which probably should indicate to me that I should not be showing it to you, but, you know, transparency and stuff is a good thing and usually appreciated. It doesn't look quite good yet, but I think it will be a big improvement later on. And that is that we have reduced these borders and simplified down the UI. They don't quite have the right spacings, the right coloring and so on, but you can see where this is going. And let me load in the new unfinished version of this. And there we are in the new main menu. That is not really new. The only thing that has changed here is the buttons, and the ones that are very observant among you might have noticed that it looks different. The only thing we've changed there for the buttons in general is that we no longer have the double border as pronounced as we did. The effect of this overall is that buttons look a little less clunky and can harbor larger icons, ever so slightly. They don't run out of space as much. It doesn't feel quite as cramped. Slightly more elegant, minor change, nothing much to talk about really. And if we go in here, it looks quite different. The colors of these sections are kind of arbitrary right now. But as you can see, something else has changed, and this is a good example of the new system working. So if we open this up, apart from the names not really fitting in here because the auto-generated names are rather large, or no, these aren't auto-generated, these are Killrob-generated names. Yeah, they are quite large. But as you can see, the data fields now are a lot better aligned. They don't need much lines. It is a lot cleaner in this big list, and a lot more aligned with everything else. So if you, it is a little easier on the eyes, especially if once you get more trims. Like this is kind of the worst case scenario, and even in the worst case scenario, it is not worse than before, which, well, isn't the highest of bars to get across, but yeah. Here we have another example of a list that is just purely a list and should not have a massive amount of borders. Now, the new concept we're going for here is that you just have a plain background. These colors here, by the way, aren't quite right, and it's not finished yet. So we are going with a plain background, and then we place data fields on top of that, which are rectangular, and then there's always a 2 pixel gap to whatever next field there is. And on the edges, there should be 15 pixels gap to everything, which currently there isn't. I think this might be. This looks about right, yes. Yeah, these actually look about right. And that gives you a really nice, readable list that does do the separation without using actual borders. It is a lack of a border that makes the border. And that makes it look cleaner and is easier on the eye. Well, once the colors here are all right for the various data fields and such, than it did before, which was very busy to look at. Like the whole screen is always in automation. Automation has the massive problem of, and benefit really. It's the kind of game you want. That's the kind of game you want to play. It gives you a lot of data about everything. Like, the data you might want to see usually is there, when we're not talking about campaign mode right now, which of course is lacking in that department, but yes. So, lots of data to present, and with lots of data on the screen, you don't want to go for something that takes additional attention away from the stuff you want to present, which are the numbers. The numbers here are the important thing. Let's see if that is already implemented. Yes, it is. This shows you a good example of the cleaner look, depending on how you want to use these fields. Because if you are going with rectangular fields like this, it's very easy to make them show additional info as a bar in the background, and we do want to use that feature for more places. Not only the comparison mode, which you already know, but also, wherever it becomes useful, really. So that would be, let's see. I think that is also in the tooltips partially. Yeah, they are also not quite there yet. It's looking good. Well, good and not good at the same time, because it's not done yet. Sliders. As you can see, sliders have changed slightly. I think the market screen serves as a good example for how much this kind of concept cleans things up. And while this may not be the final iteration of it, and most likely isn't, you can see how much difference this makes. This looks so clean in comparison to our current markets tab, and it really shows the same information, but it also has a touch of an unfinished look. That is for sure. And we will have to be working on that a little. Overall, lots of changes happening here. It might be looking like minor things, but I think once that transition is fully complete, it will look a lot cleaner overall. And don't take what you see here currently as what it will look like later on. Oh, yeah, of course, the graphs. The graphs are much clearer, hopefully a lot clearer legend up there on top. Although color choice here is lacking. I fully see that. Like, rear grip, I can barely see the blue back on the background. That's not chosen properly. But yes, changes in a lot of places. But I would assume that you want to see more than a little bit of fiddling with the UI style, even though that is a reasonably large job. So far, that all the changes you've seen in here, which also are in the campaign mode, have taken Isaac about a week and a half. And that means basically after 3 weeks of work by one programmer, that should be more or less done, which isn't too much of a burden. But we have also, of course, started developing other things. And one of those you might be quite interested in seeing. That would be... Alright, so we do have one car spawned in here, and by that, and this button, you basically see where this is going. Yes, you can now spawn more than one vehicle into a photo scene. And that concept will, of course, also be used in the future car museum feature of the campaign mode, where you can go through your entire lineup and basically have some of those cars next to each other in the same scene. And we can now just choose another car. And there you have it. Sitting right next to it. Isn't that beautiful? And you can click on each car individually, set it up, rotate it, move it around. No problems. Oh, look, there's another one. Oh, it's the Frigetta. Yes. What a beautiful car. There you go. Oh no, don't disappear on me. Oh shit, it's flying. All right, so now we have those 3 cars in here. And you might be wondering, like, why does it look so weird and shit? Well, I've turned off shadows, and that has one specific reason, and that is performance. I do want to show you one feature before turning those on again. We're currently working on a little thing, and that is cinematics. Cinematics for your cars, so that you can really show them off. That's something Hamish is doing. And this 4K photo button currently does something else. Let's see if it still does that. Let me just check. Here. Oh, there's another one. Dolly zoom? Play. There. Oh, cool. What the fuck? Oh, that's pretty nifty. There's all kinds of stuff. Oh, where are we? Hello. Oh, now we're back. Okay. All kinds of things you can do. You basically can select a car, if you can, there. And then, there we have it. Oh, that's the Allegro, though. Okay, that's another cinematic, yes. And then we have this one as well. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, pretty. So, just to show you that it is rather capable, we just need to refine all kinds of animatics, and then you will be able to showcase your cars a little better with GIFs and whatnot. Of course, all of that also works in mod photo scenes. In here, it should also do something like that. Yes. Yes, it does. You need to find stuff that works, of course, but yeah, this is kind of working. It's a tight space, but yes. So enough about that, and let me turn shadows back to something reasonable again. One more thing I wanted to mention is that some of you are still getting those kind of memory, all RAM memory being taken crashes, and I want to clarify what that is about, and that we have found potential causes of that finally. While in the last big patch that hit the public branch, we have basically eliminated hundreds of these instances where that could happen, and for quite a few of you did happen occasionally, and was hit or miss with it being triggered or not. And we have now found that some occurrences are left of that, but in a different way. In a way that doesn't even make sense. Let me quickly give you an example of what happened, which is fixed in this instance, in this patch here. Or, well, it's not a patch if you don't have it, right? In this version of the game. It was that whenever you were changing compressor size, all the car paint thumbnails would regenerate. It's like, okay, well, that's not supposed to happen, and it's not even linked anywhere. Like, okay, yes, that is that could potentially cause a bit of a garbage collection runaway issue, which we were fighting before. And just to tell you, yes, we are aware that some of you are still getting those crashes, and we are now in the process of hunting down, hopefully, the last ones of them until we find more instances of that. But many of you have been saying that this version is a lot more stable already, and the only issues that some of you have been pointing out so far was that when you change bore and stroke, or when you change some of these specific sliders like compression and some turbo settings and so on, like especially fine-tuning those. Usually not by just dragging the slider and then leaving it there, but by fine-tuning, that the game tends to crash. And that is the crash I'm talking about here. It would just freeze your game, it would ramp up to a maximum RAM usage, whatever you have available, and be there. And we are in the process of getting rid of that nasty, nasty crash. So good news on that front as well. So you might ask, Gerub, why don't you then just release this one to the public, because it has such important fixes, and maybe, well, it's not looking that great, but I mean, it's a beta branch, right? So it's fine. Like, yeah, I would give this version to you to have a play, but unfortunately, look at that. Oh, I'm not pulling the slider, am I? That's not good. That's not good. Yeah, you can still use the slider like this and with the mouse wheel, but you can't drag it. It's like, yeah, that's not great for the feel of the UI, is it? So unfortunately, some issues have minor issues, easy to fix issues too, but I wouldn't know how to do that, have popped up, which tells me that we should wait until the team is back and then like give you a proper version that is a bit more polished up. But as I said, like 2 to 3 weeks, and then they are back, and then at least another week before the patch. So please be patient, but there are some really nice changes in the works, and I'm really looking forward to seeing some of the amazing potential car art that you will be able to produce with more than one car in a scene, and the animatics that will come with them. All right. Hope you enjoyed, and see you guys next time.